Yeah, you have to take initiative. You have to do research. You have to be curious. You have to be active. I mean, that's part of everything doesn't just come to you.
Oh, that would be nice. And that's the thing about capitalism. See, they want you to think that in their supermarkets, they have actually brought everything in the world and put it there on the shelf. And you can just pull it off and put it in your little shopping cart and pay for it. But it's so wrong. Just because there are 48 brands of cornflakes does not mean that they've brought everything in the world there. They have just filled up your mind with junk.
Yeah, it's a war, really.
It is.
Well, see, I've been thinking about a thought to me is strange. It's aesthetics equal ethics. Isn't that a strange idea? At least it is to me. Because, I mean, surrealism to me, I don't want to just reduce it to aesthetics. But aesthetics are how we filter out the world if we actually leave home and go out there. And everybody is part of that environment, their clothes. I mean, you can only you get impressions by just what you see visually and what you hear auditorily. I don't know. It's like there are ethical choices underlying your aesthetic choices.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful point. Wonderful. And I often think of it when I'm thinking of the environment, that if you had the Greek ideal of beauty, what's beautiful? The human body, horses. Okay. If you have the surrealist aesthetic, what's beautiful? Octopuses, bats, weird creatures. The crazier they are, the better we like them. In fact, it encompasses all the unusual creatures, and it makes for a fuller, finer world, a more wonderful experience. And I think that surrealism was one of and Latremont, of course, here, was one of the first people to actually recognize that these things are beautiful. And they're not some Greek ideal. And we don't really want a Greek ideal. In fact, the Greek ideal is so surpassed and so boring that the surrealist ideal and the surrealist moral that these things are worthwhile plays a big role in choosing what you want to exist.
We have to choose anteaters.
Yes.
And there is one at the San Francisco Zoo, but only one, and I was worried, how are the anteaters going to reproduce here? And I don't know. I mean, I do see the death of all these species happening much faster than we monitor, and it's very sad. But surrealism, or somehow it's such a wide aesthetic. It encompasses like ruins and naive art and art of the insane and so much that it even isn't official art. That I don't know if people know that out there when they hear the word surrealism. I kind of doubt it.
For sure. Most people think of Salvador Dali.
I know.
Which is
the melting watches.
Yeah. It's been an uphill fight for us because, of course, it's always reinforced by the museum that Dali is one of the foremost surrealists, or on a better level, Magritte, the kind of visual joke, is surrealist. And that's fine, but that's just two people's vision, and surrealism was always very committed to the poetry must be made by all and art must be made by all, and the aesthetic is a very personal part of your own expression. It's not going to be like anybody else's, which is so remarkable when you think about it.
Well, you have to judge everything by the results, and for me, I mean, there's been a lot of academic criticism I've unfortunately encountered about sexism and the surrealist movement, but to me, I've never seen so many women producing such amazing art, and not just visual art, but some of the best writing that's dear to my heart came from Leonora Carrington and Dorothea Tanning.
Oh, yeah. Well, we met Leonora when she was in Mexico, but then an odd thing happened. Her son Pablo got a job in Chicago. So she spent about 1.5 to 2 years living in suburban Oak Park, and we got to see her every week. And she would make some very unusual soup for us, but we always enjoyed the soup. Never could tell what it was going to be, but it would be unusual
Surrealist
for sure.
soup.
And yeah, and I have to admit that Leonora is also an extremely remarkable person. And there is no way she could have been dominated by a bunch of men. She's just a remarkable person with a steady flow of ideas and inspirations. And